There are moments in life that don't arrive with noise, applause, or dramatic music. They arrive softly, almost unnoticed, and yet they change everything. Today is one of those moments for me. After years of walking alone, learning lessons the hard way, falling, standing up, and understanding myself a little more each time, I've reached a chapter I never rushed, never forced, and never took lightly. This isn't just about getting married. It's about choosing commitment in a world that celebrates escape. It's about believing in love after seeing how fragile life can be. It's about finding peace, not perfection. I've learned that the strongest decisions aren't loud ones. They're the quiet promises we make and keep, even when no one is watching. Standing here, I'm not celebrating an ending. I'm honoring a beginning built on patience, respect, and gratitude. Because when you've lived long enough to understand loss, you don't chase fairy tales, you choose something real. And today I'm choosing that reality with an open heart and a calm confidence that this step taken slowly and honestly is worth everything. Marriage is not an event you arrive at, it is a responsibility you grow into, and many people celebrate the day without discerning the weight of the destiny that follows. When I say finally I'm getting married, it is not the excitement of a ceremony that speaks, it is the awareness that a season of preparation has produced capacity. There are things God will never give you because you desire them. He gives them because you have been transformed enough to sustain them. Marriage answers to maturity, not age, and it responds to alignment, not pressure. Many rushed into marriage to escape loneliness, only to discover that marriage does not heal emptiness, it reveals it. If you are empty before marriage, marriage will amplify the void. If you are whole, marriage becomes an expression of overflow. Marriage is stewardship. You are entrusted with a soul, a destiny, a future that does not belong to you alone. Love is not proven by intensity of feelings, but by consistency of responsibility. Feelings rise and fall, but responsibility demands structure, discipline, and selflessness. The greatest test of love is not romance, it is endurance. Anyone can love when it is convenient, but covenant reveals itself when sacrifice becomes the language of commitment. This is why marriage is spiritual before it is emotional. What is not discerned spiritually will be abused emotionally. When God prepares a man or a woman for marriage, He first teaches them governance over self. You cannot lead a home. You cannot lead your emotions. You cannot cover a family. You cannot cover your thoughts. You cannot build with someone when you are still at war with yourself. Marriage does not correct character, it exposes it. That is why preparation is mercy. Delay is not denial when it is purposeful. Some seasons of waiting are actually seasons of construction where foundations are being laid deep enough to survive storms that are yet to come. Marriage is not an escape route from life. It is an assignment within life. You don't marry to be saved. You marry because you are saved enough to give. Two broken people do not make a whole marriage. They make a louder fracture. Wholeness is personal before it is shared. Purpose must be discovered individually before it can be pursued collectively. When two people walk into marriage without clarity, love becomes confused with need, and need eventually becomes control. But when clarity exists, love becomes partnership, and partnership produces legacy. The reason marriage must be honored is because it is one of the few institutions where God ties destiny to agreement. Agreement is power, unity is authority, discord weakens even the strongest anointing. That is why marriage is not sustained by prayer alone, but by wisdom, understanding, patience, and honor. Honor is not what you do in public, it is how you protect each other in private. It is how you speak when you are angry. It is how you listen when you disagree. It is how you choose understanding over winning. Marriage demands death to ego. You cannot be obsessed with being right and still build peace. You cannot always have the last word and still maintain harmony. Strength in marriage is not dominance, it is restraint. The strongest person in a home is not the loudest one, but the one who can control their spirit. Many homes collapse not because of hatred, but because of unmanaged pride. Pride turns correction into offense and disagreement into warfare. Humility turns conflict into growth. To say, finally, I am getting married is to say, I have learned the value of timing. Not everything that is good is yours now. Some blessings require a version of you that did not exist before. When preparation meets opportunity, stability is born. Marriage thrives when both parties understand that love is a decision renewed daily, not a feeling sustained effortlessly. There will be days when love feels easy and days when love feels like work. But anything that carries value requires labor. Marriage is not sustained by promises made on a wedding day, but by choices made on ordinary days. How you manage money, time, communication, boundaries, and expectations will matter more than how beautiful the ceremony was. Romance may attract, but responsibility sustains. Beauty may impress, but character protects. Attraction may initiate, but vision preserves. When marriage is understood as assignment, you stop asking only what you can receive and start asking what you were sent to build. You stop competing and start completing. You stop demanding perfection and start offering grace. Grace does not ignore flaws. It commits to growth. Love does not pretend problems don't exist. It chooses to face them together. Marriage is sacred because it mirrors divine commitment. Faithfulness is not just sexual loyalty. It is emotional integrity, financial transparency, and spiritual consistency. Betrayal does not start in actions, it starts in unguarded thoughts and unmanaged conversations. Protection begins with boundaries. Wisdom is knowing that not every voice deserves access to your home, your spouse, or your decisions. Finally, I'm getting married because readiness has met responsibility, because patience has shaped perspective, because understanding has replaced fantasy, because purpose now leads emotions instead of being led by them, because marriage deserves reverence, not rush, because covenant deserves preparation, not pressure, because love that lasts is love that has been taught how to stand when feelings fluctuate, when seasons change, when expectations evolve, when life introduces challenges that demand maturity, stability, discernment, and unwavering commitment grounded in truth, wisdom, and honor. Waiting is one of the most misunderstood processes in destiny. Many people assume delay is punishment, but in truth, delay is often proof that God values what He is preparing you for. Pressure produces haste, but preparation produces stability. When a man or woman enters marriage because of pressure, pressure from age, pressure from family, pressure from society, they may arrive at the altar but arrive empty in capacity. Timing in marriage is not measured by years, it is measured by readiness. Readiness of mindset, readiness of character, readiness of emotional intelligence, readiness of spiritual depth. Life will always offer comparisons. You will see others marry earlier, progress faster, celebrate sooner. But destiny is not a race. It is a journey of alignment. What destroys many people is borrowing timelines that were never assigned to them. When you force timing, you shorten patience. When you shorten patience, you weaken endurance. Marriage requires endurance. It requires the ability to stay consistent when excitement fades and responsibilities increase. Preparation teaches you how to remain when novelty disappears. Pressure pushes people into choices they are not built to sustain. Preparation builds internal strength so choices do not break you. There are conversations you must learn to have before marriage, not after. There are wounds that must be healed before marriage, not hidden inside it. There are habits that must be corrected before marriage, not justified within it. Marriage magnifies everything you carry. If you carry discipline, it multiplies peace. If you carry disorder, it multiplies chaos. Preparation is God's way of protecting futures from unnecessary pain. It teaches you discernment, how to listen beyond words, how to read patterns instead of promises, how to value consistency over charisma. Many people fall in love with potential and ignore patterns, but potential is hope, and patterns are evidence. Marriage does not run on hope alone. It runs on wisdom. Wisdom looks at direction, not excitement. Wisdom asks where this is going, not how this feels. Here are seasons when God withholds what you desire, not because it is wrong, but because you are still becoming. Becoming requires solitude. Solitude teaches you self-awareness. Self-awareness teaches you responsibility. Responsibility prepares you for partnership. Anyone who cannot manage solitude will struggle with commitment. Anyone who cannot be content alone will place unrealistic expectations on marriage. Marriage is not designed to complete you, it is designed to complement you. When preparation is complete, marriage stops being a fantasy and becomes a mission. You no longer ask, What will I gain, but what will I give? You understand that love is not sustained by attraction alone, but by shared values, shared vision, and shared discipline. Timing aligns when purpose is clear. Confusion delays destiny because God does not release weight to unstable hands. Pressure wants speed, but speed without structure leads to collapse. Preparation installs structure. It teaches you patience in communication, wisdom in conflict, restraint in anger, and maturity in decision-making. Many homes collapse not because love is absent, but because skills were never developed. Love without skill becomes frustration. Passion without wisdom becomes destruction. There are seasons when saying not yet is an act of obedience. Not yet builds strength. Not yet builds clarity. Not yet builds discernment. When the time finally arrives, peace replaces anxiety. Confidence replaces fear. Certainty replaces confusion. You are no longer running toward marriage to escape something. You are walking into it with understanding, calmness, and assurance that this step is not rushed, forced, or borrowed, but earned through growth, discipline, patience, and intentional preparation that aligns with destiny rather than societal noise. Marriage is not sustained by love alone. It is sustained by alignment, alignment of values, alignment of vision, alignment of purpose. When two people are emotionally connected but spiritually misaligned, affection may exist, but direction will conflict. Love answers the question of the heart, but purpose answers the question of destiny. Marriage that ignores purpose eventually struggles with meaning. You can enjoy each other's presence and still frustrate each other's future if alignment is absent. Covenant is deeper than agreement. Agreement can be negotiated, but covenant is surrendered into. Agreement says, I will stay as long as it works. Covenant says, I will stay while we work. Covenant is not built on convenience. It is built on commitment. It understands seasons. It understands that there will be days of clarity and days of confusion, days of joy and days of silence, days of strength and days of vulnerability. Covenant does not abandon the process because the outcome is delayed. Purpose is what gives marriage resilience. When storms come, romance alone cannot anchor a home. It is purpose that keeps two people facing the same direction even when emotions fluctuate. Without purpose, conflict becomes personal. With purpose, conflict becomes instructional. Purpose teaches you that disagreement is not an attack, but an opportunity for growth. It shifts your mindset from winning arguments to preserving destiny. Alignment begins with self-discovery. You cannot align with another person when you have not aligned with yourself. Many people enter marriage still searching for identity, hoping the relationship will define them, but marriage does not give identity, it reveals it. Whatever you believe about yourself will surface in how you love, how you react, how you forgive, how you communicate. Purpose requires clarity, and clarity requires honesty with self. Marriage is powerful because it unites destinies, not just personalities. Personalities can clash, but destinies can cooperate. When purpose is understood, patience increases. You stop expecting your spouse to be everything and start appreciating them for what they are assigned to contribute. Unrealistic expectations suffocate love. Understanding liberates it. No one person is designed to meet every emotional, spiritual, and psychological need. That burden belongs to God, not to marriage. Covenant demands loyalty beyond feelings. Feelings are seasonal, but loyalty is intentional. There will be moments when affection feels low, but covenant keeps respect intact. Respect is the atmosphere where love can recover. Once respect is broken, love struggles to breathe. That is why alignment in values is critical. When values clash, respect erodes. When values align, even disagreement is handled with dignity. Purpose-driven marriages do not compete, they complement. Competition creates comparison. Comparison breeds resentment. Resentment destroys unity. In aligned marriages, strengths are celebrated, weaknesses are covered, and growth is encouraged. Each person understands their role without insecurity. There is no fear of being overshadowed because purpose is shared, not stolen. One person's success is not a threat, it is a testimony of collective progress. Marriage without purpose becomes survival. Marriage with purpose becomes legacy. Legacy thinking changes how you speak, how you plan, how you resolve conflict. You begin to ask not just what feels good now, but what builds something lasting. Legacy requires discipline, it requires sacrifice. It requires the ability to say no to temporary pleasure for long-term impact. Purpose trains you to see beyond the present moment. Covenant also requires spiritual intelligence. You must know how to pray together, but also how to think together. Prayer without wisdom still leads to repeated mistakes. Wisdom without prayer leads to pride. Balance is essential. A strong marriage knows when to kneel and when to plan, when to wait and when to act, when to speak and when to remain silent. Silence is not absence of communication, it is mastery of timing. Alignment does not mean sameness. Differences are not threats when purpose is clear. Different personalities bring balance. Different perspectives bring depth. Different strengths bring stability. Problems arise when differences lack direction. Purpose provides direction. It channels differences into productivity rather than division. Without purpose, different feel like opposition. With purpose, differences become assets. Marriage exposes motives. If your motive is self-fulfillment, disappointment will follow. If your motive is contribution, fulfillment becomes inevitable. Covenant thinking shifts the question from what do I want to what are we building? Building requires patience. It requires consistency. It requires trust. Trust is not built in ceremonies. It is built in daily faithfulness, in small decisions, in repeated honesty, in choosing transparency, even when it is uncomfortable. Alignment protects marriage from unnecessary battles. Many conflicts are not about the issue at hand. They are about misaligned expectations. When expectations are unclear, assumptions fill the gap. Assumptions breed misunderstanding. Understanding grows where communication is intentional. Communication is not talking more, it is listening better. Purpose-driven communication seeks clarity, not control. Marriage becomes powerful when both people understand that they are stewards of each other's destiny. Words matter, tone matters, attitude matters. You can wound deeply with careless speech. Covenant teaches restraint. It teaches you that love is not proven by how loud you speak, but by how carefully you choose your words. Healing and harm often come from the same mouth. Purpose also provides endurance. When life applies pressure, financial stress, health challenges, external opposition, purpose reminds you why you started. It reminds you that this union is bigger than comfort. It is assignment. Assignment gives strength when emotions are tired. It gives hope when circumstances are heavy. It gives direction when confusion tries to settle in. Marriage aligned with purpose does not avoid challenges, it faces them with unity. Unity is not agreement on everything, but commitment to walk together through anything. Walking together requires pace. Not everyone grows at the same speed. Covenant is patient with growth. It corrects without humiliation. It supports without enabling. It believes without ignoring reality. When alignment is present, marriage becomes a place of safety, not competition. Safety allows vulnerability. Vulnerability deepens intimacy. Intimacy strengthens trust. Trust reinforces covenant. This cycle sustains the union beyond attraction, beyond excitement, beyond seasons. Purpose-centered marriages are not perfect, but they are resilient. They bend without breaking. They learn without collapsing. They grow without losing direction. Finally, marriage rooted in covenant and purpose understands that love is not something you fall into once, but something you choose daily. Choice is the highest form of commitment. Choice says even when emotions fluctuate, even when understanding is incomplete, even when the journey is demanding, alignment will guide decisions, covenant will govern actions, purpose will remain the compass, and destiny will continue unfolding through intentional unity, disciplined love, spiritual understanding, and unwavering commitment to build something that reflects meaning, honor, and lasting impact beyond personal desire. Marriage that honors God must be built beyond emotions, because emotions are powerful but unstable. Feelings are real, but they are not reliable foundations. If a home is built only on how people feel, it will rise and fall with circumstances. Honor is what gives marriage stability. Honor is the decision to value the person, the covenant, and the assignment even when emotions are tired. Many marriages collapse not because love disappeared, but because honor was neglected. God-centered marriages understand order. Order does not reduce love, it protects it. Where order is absent, confusion takes over. Confusion produces conflict. Conflict unmanaged produces distance. Distance eventually produces separation. Honor restores order. It teaches each person how to carry themselves, how to speak, how to disagree, and how to remain aligned even in tension. When God is removed from the center, self becomes the center, and self will always prioritize comfort over commitment. Emotions fluctuate, but principles sustain. Principles guide decisions when feelings are unclear. A marriage that honors God is governed by truth, not impulse. Impulse reacts, truth responds, reaction destroys, response builds. Many decisions that damage marriages were not planned, they were emotional. Honor trains you to pause, to reflect, to choose wisely, even when emotions demand expression. Marriage requires discipline, discipline in communication, discipline in boundaries, discipline in priorities. Love without discipline becomes reckless. Discipline without love becomes harsh. Balance produces peace. When God is honored, balance is restored. You learn when to speak and when to remain silent, when to correct and when to cover, when to lead and when to support. Leadership in marriage is not control, it is responsibility. Responsibility carries weight. Weight demands maturity. God-honoring marriages protect intimacy. Intimacy is not only physical, it is emotional and spiritual. Emotional intimacy is destroyed by neglect, comparison, and dishonor. Spiritual intimacy is destroyed by inconsistency and compromise. What you allow into your thoughts will eventually affect your actions. Protection begins with awareness. Awareness produces restraint. Restraint preserves purity of heart and clarity of vision. Marriage that honors God understands sacrifice. Sacrifice is not loss, it is investment. Every time you choose patience over anger, understanding over offense, humility over pride, you invest into the future of the union. Sacrifice hurts in the moment but heals in the long run. Many people avoid sacrifice because it feels uncomfortable, but comfort is the enemy of growth. Growth requires stretching. Honor also means accountability. Accountability is not control, it is protection. It is allowing your spouse to speak truth in your life without defensiveness. Offensiveness blocks growth. Teachable hearts build strong homes. Pride isolates, humility connects. A marriage that honors God values correction as much as affection. Correction refines love, affection expresses it. God-centered marriages understand seasons. There are seasons of abundance and seasons of testing, seasons of clarity and seasons of waiting. Honor remains constant through seasons. You don't treat your spouse better only when life is easy. Consistency builds trust. Trust creates safety. Safety allows growth. Growth produces longevity. Marriage is not sustained by constant happiness, but by consistent commitment. Commitment anchored in faith understands that storms do not mean failure. Storms reveal foundations. When God is the foundation, storms strengthen rather than destroy. Faith does not deny challenges, it provides perspective. Perspective prevents panic. Panic leads to wrong decisions. Honor governs conflict. Conflict is inevitable, but dishonor is optional. You can disagree without disrespect. You can correct without humiliation. You can express pain without attacking character. When God is honored, words are weighed before they are released. Words have power. They can heal or they can wound. Wisdom chooses healing. A God-honoring marriage also understands service. Service breaks selfishness. Selfishness suffocates love. When both people serve, love flows naturally. Service is not weakness, it is strength under control. It reflects maturity. It reflects understanding that marriage is not about who is served more, but about building something greater together. Marriage that honors God sees beyond the present. It sees children, legacy, influence, testimony. It understands that private obedience produces public stability. What is honored in secret is rewarded in strength. Consistency behind closed doors determines resilience in open seasons. When emotions fade, honor remains. When excitement reduces, commitment stands. When challenges arise, faith leads. A marriage built to honor God does not depend on perfect circumstances, perfect feelings, or perfect people. It depends on truth, discipline, humility, sacrifice, and reverence. Reverence keeps the heart aligned. Alignment sustains unity. Unity releases strength. Strength preserves the covenant through every season, every transition, every test, ensuring that what is built is not temporary passion, but a lasting structure rooted in faith, wisdom, and intentional obedience.